Good morning. Welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering natural health on this your Wednesday, Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. And today I'm looking at the topic: Does U.S. corporate, does U, U.S. Give me a second. Where is this coming from? All right. Okay, so does U.S. corporate and political leaders have regular bodies like us? So this is what I want to look at here today for you, and just apologize for being a little more late than I would normally be in a not regular day, but I couldn't figure out that my mic was off, so I couldn't get my mic to work. So anyhow, so welcome again. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your blessings in our lives, and I pray the Lord you may be with us as we study together for Christ's sake. Amen. So this very fascinating and interesting discussion that I want to have with you here, which is this idea here that does the corporate leaders in America and the political leaders in America have regular bodies like us? So it's a very important point because remember, as we're discussing here with the theme, which is when you view and accept America with its contradictions, one of the most powerful places you see the contradiction played out is in natural health or the health of people. And how this plays out is very interesting when it comes on to the game and who's winning the game and who's losing the game. So on the surface, you would say like the Rockefellers and the various different corporate entities that constitute the pharmaceutical industry and the chemical industry and all that, they're winning the game. And so if there was a game and you could use the FBI or whoever it is to manipulate the game and make the game come out a certain way, you would say in America, the corporate elite and the political elite has won the health game, and drugs is the only option. And you use drugs even for what normally you use drugs for emergency medicine, use it for everything. So they won, and there's no question about it that they won. But what is the result? The question I'm asking you now is the body that I have and the body that you have. Does the political leaders and the corporate leaders, do they have bodies like us? Do they partake of the things that they won with? When they have a sickness, a pain, suffering, what do they use? Do they eat what we eat, and so forth? Because it would seem if they won, what did they win? So does U.S. corporate and political leaders, when you look at the Congress, the Senate, the head of the country, the elite, they won, and natural health is basically something pushed on the back burner, and it doesn't change even when you go into the and I associate religious also because you go into the church, the drugs people in the church won also. The corporate church has basically banned anything natural. They have basically attacked and shut down all natural sanitariums and stuff like that, and they only have drugs only. So did they win? That's a question, and this is a very interesting discussion. So I'll have it here now. So our theme has been: if you view and understand and accept America as the Bible describes it, with its contradictions, then you will view its history and current with clarity. So we talk about health. This is very much important because remember, the corporations and the political class in America use the system of like the FBI and stuff to basically destroy anything natural health, and the media to destroy natural health, and make it become something where they say if you talk about herbs, you're a quack, and all kind of weird stuff. So this is what happened. But what happened to them? Do they have regular colon like you and I, and regular skin and brain? Do they can they be affected by dementia and cancer? So you will be able to understand its future. So if you understand its contradiction and what America is, then you will understand its future, what is predicted by the Bible, with the same clarity. And it is what it is. Like humans, we all are sinners. And so if you look at nations as 180 something nations on the planet, and you look at nations as humans, and nations have characters and they have flaws in them. And so what's one of the flaws that America has? One of the big flaws that you can see in America is this concept of health. The country that spends the most per capita on health care and has some of the worst outcomes amongst developed and developing nations. So, like humans, we all are sinners and flawed. We celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthday, anniversaries, knowing well and good. So, how I approach America is what I'm telling you here. I just approach it the way it is. I'm not trying to tell myself crazy stuff like lamb like beast and stuff like that. I just says, it's America. It's like a nation, and it has its good and it has its bad. Yesterday, I was talking about some of the good. And part of America now, when you deal with America, is that it's a country that has a lot of natural health stuff going on in the supermarket for commerce. And it's a country, but it's a country that probably if you need a natural health clinic, um, I think now they used to probably have three in Adventism. I don't know how much they have now. I haven't paid attention in a while, but I think they're down to two. I think the corporation took over and almost it seemed destroy Heartland, and I think they have Wildwood and Uchipine. I think they're still there. I don't even know. And but a lot of time you probably have to leave and go to Mexico or somewhere to get natural treatment in a clinic or in a health type facility because America doesn't go for that type of stuff. They go for just hospital and drugs. But if the head of the Senate and the head of the Congress want some natural treatment, where do they go? Do they have to leave the country also? And as I say, are their colons made of steel? What happened to their skin? So notice here, Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Christ says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So when it comes on to natural health, this is one of the places that you have to be very wise. It's the same thing we'll do it on Friday, come on to church. You have to be very wise. You have to understand corporate churches or what they're for. But today I'm dealing with natural health. And in natural health, you have to be very wise because you have to look at the health outcomes of the top people in the country. That means the doctors, the lawyers, the the people who control the Senate and the Congress, the House basically, the House and the Senate. And you have to look at the executive branch. Then you have to look at the other group of people. You have to look at the seven, is it seven or nine justices on the bench. And as you look at them, and then you can throw in the people in the Fed chairman and stuff like that, and his people, and say, okay, they won the fight. They made it that says you must be stupid if you believe in natural health. But what is their health outcome? How are they doing? What is their process? And I'm not talking about you don't compare them to a country where people are starving, because that's normally what they do. In America here, one of the snaky thing that they always do is Haiti become the justification for what they do, or somewhere like Burkina Faso, or they go to the worst country and say, look at these people, they're starving, we're better because we're fat and flourishing. But they normally don't compare otherwise. So again, if you want to be able to look and you want to really get a good idea of what to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, nothing I say here, there's no ill intention. I say it a certain way because I want to get your attention to what I'm saying. So look at them. And you say you look at them. You look at the two top women in the country would be Nancy Pelosi, and there's another lady, I can't remember her name, over there in California. You say, okay, what are their outcomes? How good are they doing? What is the rate of aging and dementia and cancer and those people in the Senate and the Congress? What is the concept with like depression and stuff like that? What is their children health outcome? What's going on? Because they won, as you know, like NutraSweet aspartame was pushed through by like Dick Cheney. And what are people like that health outcome? What is the outcome of the people who eat the diet that they eat, drink the drink that they drink? What are the health outcome? You listen. You notice those who are most aggressive against natural health are almost those down south in places like West Virginia and Kentucky. What are the health outcome? The leaders. Forget about the people, because it becomes obvious what I'm talking about. So when you start, wisdom is sometimes, as I say, wisdom is not sometimes always. It's not sometimes so much, how would I say this? It's not sometimes so much right or wrong, and hear me out. It's sometimes having some sense. Like I know what they say, but what are the outcome? You see, that's wisdom. See, wisdom is different from, as I say, left, right, good, evil, bad, whatever. Wisdom is looking at stuff and saying, I see what they're saying, and I know they say it's you only can do stuff if it's FDA approved. But what is the outcome? You only can do stuff that the juggernauts, the big corporations, and the titans of the industries approve. But what are their health outcomes? You notice I'm not talking about the regular people. I'm talking about the elite, the top in the country, whether it be corporate, political, and especially, I would say, even in the church. And when you look at that, you take some wisdom from that. Now, why are you taking wisdom from that? Because what you're doing for yourself, is that you're not going by the mumbo jumbo that you hear on the media, corporate media. Because remember, when you deal with NBC News, it's in Rockefeller Center. So that gives you an idea. And he was the one that gave us the drug culture. And don't wisdom tell you, don't look at the health outcome of people who are starving. Because the health outcome is always going to be easily, is nothing. Why? Because it's war, famine, pestilence. War causes famine, famine causes pestilence. Where you have no food, your immune system is weak, and then disease takes over. So this is how you have to do. So Christ said you have to be wise. So in this world, they could shut down all the health sanitariums. It doesn't make me lose sleep at night. Why? Because I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to be wise. I'm going to understand what they're doing. And I say, listen, I don't need their health outcome because their health outcome is garbage. I need to go with my health outcome. And since if I can go to a sanitarium, I can go, well, I'll do it for myself. I'll learn for myself because I don't like their health outcome. And that's important. But a foolish person would be like, oh no, if they say it, whatever, they look terrible and they have the worst experience with health. But they're the elite. And I'm like, yeah. You see, that's when you start getting yourself into trouble. As the Bible says, the poor are rich in faith. They're God's people. So when you start to realize that, you'll be like, okay, so I need to learn to eat simple food instead of all this very technical, chemically advanced food. As I say, I need to drive a technically advanced car, but not the food. My food needs to be simple, the way God created it. My transportation can be very technical, but many people believe that their transportation should be very complex and their food should be very complex also. Anyhow. So Christ says you have to be wise. This is where wisdom is. This is where I'm sharing with you. You have to sometimes just take the information and go along your way quietly and take care of yourself. Something you can't noise things about, bro. Let them eat the garbage food. They want to eat it. They fight for it and they won. Let them win it. So wisdom again is not talking about the regular people. It's looking at and say, wait a minute, what happened to the best in the country? The people who are eating 100% without no thinking the food that are genetically engineered, that are just taking the drugs like there's no tomorrow, the biggest drug loving country. What is their health outcome? I'm not talking about the poor, I'm talking about the rich. People who graduate from Yale and Harvard and Princeton and those places. What is their results? Philippians chapter 2, verse 15. Philippians 2, verse 15. It says that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom you shine as light in the world. So when it comes on to health, this is one of the ways you can really shine. Because you see, natural health is you don't have to be rich and poor. You have to just have some money. You have to have a job and work. But with natural health, you can basically readjust the equation. It is one way that is fascinating. You can readjust the equation, numbers wise. That can't be, disproven. It is facts. If you're wise and you understand what they eat on a regular basis, and that their laws, why I'm talking about the Congress and the Senate, the House, as a representative on the Senate, is because it's their laws. You see, they pass the laws. And because they pass the laws and they've made it. Now, think about one of the things they do. If you want to go and get, say, a mango, other than from Florida, that is imported, and just about anything that comes from anywhere in the world, you have to, the laws is to protect us from bacterial virus and to protect the industry, especially in Florida and California. And you wonder how many blood sacrifice they did for this law. You have to dip it in water, radiate it, and something else. I can't remember. I used to remember. You have to zap it, kill it, destroy it, and then feed it to the people. And you're thinking the people who passed that law, they are the ones that seem to be most in need of natural food. But they've made it that you can't get anything natural, especially if it's tropical, to protect. Because they're saying, oh no, it's to protect the people from bacteria and virus. But then you start realizing, it's to protect Florida industry. So I say, I get that. I believe in some level of protectionism. But do they need natural food? Do they need antioxidants in their body from these plants? I remember years ago, I used to go to a farm. I think it's somewhere in New Jersey. I think it's New Egypt. And I used to go to this farm and buy food, just conventional food. But as I went to the farm, I would be noticing, I'm looking at the farmer himself. It's a big farm. And you get fruits and vegetables, but primary vegetables. And I would look at the farmer, as I interact, I would look at the farmer and look at him. I'm looking at his skin and I'm just looking at him and thinking, man, he looks terrible. And I remember one day I think I'm there, and I think he was riding on a quad or something, and I could see the dust flaking up as he goes through the farm. And I'm thinking about it and saying, man, a farm like this has to consume a lot of fertilizer, a lot of chemicals. And he looks terrible. And I'm looking at him and thinking, man, this guy looks terrible. And I'm thinking about the dust. And in my mind, this is nothing scientific. I'm young, in my 20s at that point. And I'm in my mind, I just simply look at it and say, is it the dust that's making his skin look so like almost alligatorish or something? It just looked terrible. And I think this is the first time I've ever said it publicly, but I quietly thought that and said, man, I shouldn't be eating this stuff from this place. His outcome is terrible. Now, I didn't say nothing. I didn't think I even said anything to my wife. I just observe, make a mental note, and I did what Christ says to be. You're supposed to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, because I wouldn't be able to say what I was thinking. So I decided never to go back. I just stopped going. I stopped buying from there because it's like I got scared. But when I was younger, I couldn't articulate these thoughts because somebody would say, "You're being ridiculous," and I would be thinking, "Probably I'm being ridiculous." But you know what, Ben? I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna say anything because if I say something, I might have to defend the thought. And since I couldn't defend the thought, I just decided, I don't like what I'm seeing. He looks bad. And in my mind, I keep thinking it's the dust. No, it could be the food. But I was thinking, man, but I'm eating food from that soil. And over the years, I've tried to figure out what happened in America. What goes down? Have you studied to find out what happened? Because when you find out what happened, you realize, oh, the people who take bribes and write these laws, they won. But what did they win? With all these heap of chemicals and this aggressiveness, arresting people because they talk about natural health. What did they win? Did they win a lot of cancers? A lot of weird diseases? Because that's what they won. This is very strange. Now I'm thinking, not every winning is winning. Does that make sense? Not every winning is winning. But in their mind, sometimes I think they're in a competition and they decide that they're going to win. And when you see the end result of the winning, it's startling. But they won. It's like a Gestapo winning, but they have to eat also. So notice in Psalms 119, verse 17 through 21. And it says, deal bountifully with thy servants, that I may live and keep thy word. And this is a prayer that we want to pray. Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law. I am a stranger in the earth. Hide not thy commandments from me. That's how I feel. I'm just a stranger in this place, wherever I live. My soul breaketh for the longing that I had unto thy judgment all the times. So when you love the judgments of the Lord and the way of the Lord, that you live in amongst people who, even the church, you go amongst people and they get aggressive against the Bible, against certain principles. You just say, man, I'm a stranger. I'm a stranger for that reason, because I don't relate. Verse 21 says, thou hast rebuked the proud that are cursed, which do err from thy commandments. Very powerful. Thou hast rebuked the proud that are cursed. They're so proud. They're so full of themselves. They're so aggressive. You'd be like, why are you being aggressive? I've dealt with people personally. So anything I'm saying here is not, and I'm talking about the people in the Congress, the Senate, and so forth, the corporate leaders, CEOs. But I've dealt with them on a local basis, in church, in communities, and I realize I don't be wasting my time too much. You hear me talking here, I just go around my life and just move on. Because I realize they're proud. And who am I to talk to them? You can't talk to these people because they're full of themselves. They want. I'd be like, what you want? And the Bible says they want a lot of curses in their life. But you can't talk. You can't tell them, say, you don't see stupid. You're like, what are you doing? This life is not evolved. It's not an accident. And you're not going to control tomorrow with genetical engineering. You're being dumb. This life, there's a reason why you eat carrots and eat it organic and natural, because carrots are made by God. This is stupidity. But we invent nuclear bombs. Sure, you can destroy the earth and destroy yourself, but all this nonsense they're doing is foolishness, right? But when you start from a starting point that you're superior, you're the best, and you're the end product of evolution, and now you're going to control evolution with genetic engineering, then you can see what happened with like Plague 19. They're proud. They're full of themselves. And so the Lord says, I'm going to rebuke those that are proud. How the Lord rebuke them? Look at the outcomes. You can't argue with this. Outcomes are outcomes. Someone could say, well, you eat natural food, you get better outcome, but we eat the scientifically based diet, and look at your outcome. But you can't talk to people who are proud, because all they hear in themselves is, oh no. Especially someone like me, I realize I'm limited how I can talk to people, because I'm like from some primordial soup or something. So which did err from the commandments, because the Bible says it is a plant-based diet, seed-based, things that grow seed. Now they're trying to genetically engineer the seeds. They're nuts. And look at their outcome. Great, they do it. Okay, excellent. That's scientifically advanced. I could say that. I'm actually impressed, to be honest, the type of things that people can do. But when you look at the outcome, you'd be like, well, I'm not that impressed. So who are we talking about again? Western Europe. Western Europe is described in the Bible, led by the Catholic Church in Romans chapter 13, verse 1 and 2. It says, I stood on the sand of the sea and saw the beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon the upon the horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet was like the feet of a bear, and his mouth the mouth of a lion. And the dragon, who? The dragon, who's the dragon? That great Satan, the devil. And gave him his seat and power and a great authority. In Revelation 13, verse 11 and 12, we hear the Bible describe and prophesied, John prophesied 2,000 years ago, that America would rise. And this is the character of America. Revelation 13, verse 11 says, I build another beast, another empire that is rapacious, coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. The horns are lamb-like, because the horns represent republicanism and Protestantism. Seem like a government for the people, and a church that believe in freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and so forth. But when it speak by writing laws from Congress and Senate, out of the Congress and Senate come dragon speech. So it speak like a dragon. And so we can see this very clearly in natural health, that America, which you can see a lot of things about natural health in America, you can see this very strange attitude in America, where I remember, as I say, I was dealing with a doctor, and he would tell me that, back in the past, even up to the 80s, they would arrest us for practicing natural health. And I'm like, what? Yeah, he said, yeah, the laws, the Rockefeller drug laws, and then the FBI and stuff, they would be aggressive against us because we're doing something wicked. And so even to this day, interesting enough, yesterday, you know, so one of the channels I have on YouTube, uh, I don't post to it anymore, but uh, every so often the AI, the artificial intelligence, will catch up to me, so to speak. So yesterday in the afternoon, I got an alert on my phone, and I click it, and it telling me that one of the videos I did when the plague 19, pestilence 19, when COVID was running, one of the videos I did, they just deleted it. So every now and then they just delete a video of mine. They always be catching up. They're catching up with videos and delete it, and they say I have medical misinformation on it. It's crazy. These people medical misinformation. The whole system is medical misinformation, but I'm preaching medical. So if you talk anything natural, so in COVID-19, I was talking about how to to deal with COVID from a natural point of view. Vitamin D, blah 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 blah. I'm probably sure probably a year from now or a few months from now, just this little statement I make here talking about, because you imagine now. So the AI will pick up that I use the phrase COVID-19, and I use how to treat it with natural remedies. So this video they're gonna delete it. it's crazy because I posted this video to YouTube, or it's being streamed right now at YouTube. So just imagine that they'll just delete it. it's crazy because they say I'm giving medical misinformation. You can only treat COVID by the vaccine. So this is where they're at. If you want to understand the country, this is one of the most important things to understand how it created this kind of Gestapo to censor any information that you can deal with disease by natural means. So you talk about hard. Just think about how stupid it, and these people are some of the brightest people in the country. Just think about how silly that is. You can't deal with coronary artery problems, cholesterol, anything to do with lifestyle diseases with anything natural. It's crazy. Only drugs. Where and most Americans don't know why that is. They think that that's the reality. And imagine the people at Google, they're so silly. And these are some of the brightest minds in the country. So they're the best. They will say, no, that's medical misinformation. You deal with cholesterol by taking some, I think statin, they call it, or something like that. You see, that's what it is. And so if I say the way to deal with cholesterol or heart problem or anything, or diabetes or whatever this disease you have to do it with chemicals. They say, oh no, that's good information. Good information. They're crazy. So this is what it is. So to see it, you see this. So it's the same in America. You can find a lot of things with natural health in the supermarket. You can make money off it. But you talk about medical, you can't touch that. So he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So that's the aim. So that's America with you. Contradiction. Two horns like a lamb. It's not a lamb like beast. That's silly talk. Two arms like a lamb, as the Bible says. A beast with two horns like a lamb. But when it speaks from the Congress and Senate, from the executive branch, you hear Satan talking, the dragon, the devil talking. And as I say, with natural health, that's the truth. Snake, you can't do it. This is misinformation. So if you say, well, if a person have, I remember there was somebody that was having long COVID, and persons having long COVID. This is when COVID was running, as an example, pestilence 19 or pestilence 18. And I remember the person contact me, Adventist to contact me, and they say, I'm having long COVID. I say, how long? And they say a few months. I say, she can't. She say, I can't shake it. So I say, oh, okay, I see what's going on. I said, well, just deal with inflammation. Just boost to a high degree vitamin D, blah 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 blah. So I told her what to do. Just do these different things. And within, I think, a week or so, she shook it. I said, yeah, it's not, it's not that complicated if you understand what the disease is doing. The moment you understand the disease, and somebody said, but it's a viral disease. Yeah, but the immune system can rid itself of just about anything or keep them dormant. But the immune system has to be fed. So when you feed the immune system, vitamin C, vitamin D, start pumping up those things. And it's their food for the immune system. Okay. But if you dealt with that, and I'm gonna move on because I didn't come here for that. But and if you dealt with that, that was medical misinformation to boost the immune system, to feed it. Beta carotene, vitamin A, blah blah. Just keep boosting it. Carrots, oranges, lemon, lime. You know, goes in the sun, blah blah. You feed the immune system. You see, this concept is weird. So a person who is a medical professional, the best people in the planet, is here in America, and they would probably say, "I need to be arrested. This is wrong. What you're doing." You see, this is where they've gotten to. It is weird, and but the regular people and them themselves don't understand that they're under delusion. They've been deceived by the Rockefellers. And when I say that, there's no conspiracy theory in what I'm saying. If you go read the history, you'll be shocked what they did to the American public. But look at the results. Unnecessary people dying because simply their system they're not up to snuff. And the people didn't have to die like that. But because what happened now, the Senate and Congress is on the take, and the only way to do this is to, and they're deceived also, is that they must make the pharmaceutical companies make big money. You see, in their mind, the only solution to problems is whoever make big money. And you can buy stocks and invest in that company and profit. And most people don't realize that. So are they, the corporate elites and the political elites, are they immune from the health implication of their laws? That's what I'm going to try to answer here in the next half an hour. So I'm going to take this article and then I'll get back. I'm going to take a piece of this article. So this is the current top headline, I think. No, this is like 2 days ago or so. Top when it come on to health with NBC News. You know, it's like quote. Almost over the years, I've learned to only quote from them. I like to quote from National Institute of Health, which is who control the people who control the farm, the lab in Wuhan. I like to quote from NBC News. I like to quote from the head of the system, because when they admit something, that means it's real bad or it's real true. Because if they have to admit it, then it's oh wow. So this article now is taken from NBC News in the health section. Why children in the U.S. are dying at a far higher rates than in other wealthy countries. So notice here, this is I find it's very important, because when you understand how America operates, America, when it comes on to show you foreign countries, they show you Prague and Brussels and stuff like that. When it's Europe, but when you come on to people of color, they'll show you places, the worst places in any country. And that's just how the media work. And to me, there's no denying of that. American media has a very snaky way of, if they show you, say, like a country like Haiti or Jamaica, it's just they find the worst, and they always seem to find the most ignorant person in the country to interview. And they do the same thing in the black community. It's always some of the most Ebonic speaking people. And it just, so you just think that the black people are just total garbage. So, but now you hear this article does something very interesting, which is kind of weird. And you can see, they must be feeling pain over there, because instead of comparing youth outcome and children outcome to poor countries, they compare it to wealthier countries. That's kind of different. They have it is snaky. So notice this is written by Aria Bendix again, and it's July 2nd. So notice here, she writes that children in the US are dying at higher rates than in other wealthy countries or developed countries. So this is apples to apples. You see, if you want to fool the people, you compare children in the US to children in Sudan, Somalia. I think they're doing better more recently. But Haiti, and then you feel better. You say, "Oh man, we're doing good, America. Look at the kids in Sudan and Somalia. They're starving. They have flies all around them." See, that's how you do it. But if you compare apples to apples, then Yeah, it's different. Eh? It's very sneaky. This is a country we live in with its contradictions. Notice here, research published Monday in the journal JAMA Pediatrics attempt to calculate these excess deaths. In other words, how many more kids under the age of 19 are dying in the US compared to similar countries? Beautiful. The estimate, the estimate, 20,000 per year. So it's a bleak picture of the country's pediatric health. The chances of a child surviving to the age of 20 are now decreasing after decades of progress, says Dr. Stephen Wolf, the study co-author and professor of family medicine in Virginia. For the study, Wolf and his colleague calculated the median mortality rate for children in 16 countries outside the US, including Australia, Canada, Japan, and 13 European countries. So apples for apples. They compared those rates to mortality rates for children in the US during the same years, which is 1999 to 2019. Then multiply the difference by the size of the population of each year, which is proper, I guess. What's tragic about this is that we've made tremendous progress in recent years in the battling pediatric diseases like childhood leukemia, congenital birth defects. He says, but we have also made progress in preventing injury, death. So here's some numbers. Each year, U.S. record about more than 5 infant deaths per 1,000 live births, far exceeding the rate of other high-income countries. Mortality rates are especially high in Native Americans and blacks. So just like with the diet, the worst diet and the worst health outcome in America are Native Americans and Black Americans, right? So who are those people? Are those people the oppressed people with the oppressed diet, eating the worst foods in America? You see, that's American contradiction for you. Notice infant deaths. America has the highest amongst the top countries, the countries they took into consideration. So this is apples for apples. Because remember, something is going on in America when it comes on to Americans, the way they interact with drugs and food. And the people with the worst food in America is Native Americans and Black people, or Native Alaskans also, the three groups that are historically oppressed. So there's no coincidence there. So you can't eat certain things. But notice my topic is not about this. My topic is about, is the elite doing better? Because when you start dealing with cancers, then you start to shake your head. You start to get spin how the elite are doing. But here you have health outcomes for children. Remember, this is important because we talk about pediatric. A lot of problem with pediatrician among whites. They might be make it to the hospital. They have health coverage, but a lot of disability and a lot of infertility. So notice the countries that they're compared, and I'll take probably one or two more from this article and move on to my main thought because I'm running way out of time. So notice here, United States, Canada, United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, that is Australia, Germany, Austria, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and then Japan. By the get to Japan, you're 1.7 per thousand kids that are infant mortality. America tops the list. So this is proper. America's 5.6. So infant death rate around the world. Infant death rate around the world, America is 5.6 amongst comparable countries. But if you compare America to, say, Haiti in the Western Hemisphere, or you compare them to something like that, some other countries similar to that, what you will get is you could just do the comparison and say, oh, look, we're doing so great. Our results are better. But it's when you start comparing to similar countries, then you start saying, oh, there's a problem here. But what's going on in America? What is the health outcome and why? When it comes on, as I say, to cancers and all that type of stuff, disability, infertility, are they getting better results? The children of the Senate and the Congress, their kids and themselves, are they getting better results? And my answer is no. They're not. I'll take two more and then I go. It says several factors contribute to U.S. disproportionate infant mortality rate. One is relatively high rate of sudden infant death syndromes, the unforeseen and unexplained death of an infant younger than one compared to other developed countries. Around 2,500 babies in the U.S. die from SID each year. Another is homicide rate for U.S. infants is relatively high compared to peer countries like Canada and England. And so the other things they're talking about people, I just take the other two other part here. So gun, suicide, and drugs. The U.S. depends more on car for transportation than most other countries, which contributes to more accidents, which children are killed. Also, guns are the leading cause of death among U.S. children and teens. Most of these deaths are homicide. Also, suicide death rates also rising among teens and young adults. From 2007 to 2021, the US recorded a 62% increase in suicide among people ages 10 to 24, and that's startling. 10 to 24, a 62% increase. 10 to 20, 10-year, why would 10-year-old killing themselves? That seems strange. Another problem in the U.S. Opioid epidemic in the U.S. also plays a role in a relatively high pediatric mortality. Why people pediatric mortality? Opiates. Does that make sense? This don't make it make sense. There's difference with regular culture between the United States and other culture that have allowed dangerous products to be more prevalent. So this is now where I came here for. So notice the author says, Wolf, this is a doctor that they interviewing from Virginia. He's saying that there's something about America that makes drugs more prevalent. What is going on? Yeah, okay. You see what I'm talking about? Notice he says there's a difference in regulatory culture, and I read it wrong the first time, so I'll read it again. There's a difference in the regulatory culture between the US and other cultures that have allowed dangerous, allowed dangerous products to be more prevalent. Who passed these regulations? Who passed them? Does the Senate and Congress, when they pass these regulations, do they pass the regulations and then say our kids gonna die? See, when they pass the regulations, they're thinking, oh, we win. You know, our donors who pay us these monies, big monies, so that we can run and win, and give us kickback on planes and for vacation all over the country and the world. We win, baby. But this is a place where winning is not good. It's the regulatory. Now, who passed regulations? The Senate and the Congress. And then the executive branch sign off, and then the corporate, what do you call them? The corporate, the justices, Supreme Court corporate justices. Then they do the final rubber stamp if there's a challenge in the court. And then now it filter back down to the FBI that come and arrest people or whatever. But why there's so much drugs? As he says, it's a regulation. It's something to do with the government. And notice here, the pediatric death from fentanyl increased more than 30-fold between 2013 and 2021. So 2013 and 2021. A lot of deaths that were seen in fentanyl, and I'll close off on this, and you can read the article for yourself. A lot that were seen in fentanyl has occurred in kids who are not even school age. Says this author from Yale, author for the study from Yale. And I'll take last piece from her. It says, if they're old enough to walk, they're picking something up off the floor that's being dropped and getting into, getting into their mother's purse. But there's also cases with homicide where they have been administered opiate. Whether the intent was malicious or not, it's not always clear. So they say they go into the mother's purse, grab some opiate, they pick up something off the floor, they're grabbing some opiate, or Somebody gave them the opiate, whether they're doing it to kill the children or not. This is happening in America, but what is the regulatory environment in America that drugs is so ubiquitous? Drugs is everywhere. And that becomes the issue when we deal with these type of things. So when you go back now, you say, what is the health outcome of the people that are in the Congress? What is the health outcome of their kids? What is going on in America? And you see this issue here as the regulatory environment. When you have a attitude, because I remember when I was young, I heard about them, going after natural people. But when I experienced Pestilence 1919 and I saw how aggressive they were, I said, oh, this is what they were telling me about when I was younger. And I saw them behaving and I saw how aggressive they were about anything natural because they were securing that the only solution for Pestilence 19 was vaccine. Then I said, oh, I see them. But I said, who going to die from this? Because if you notice, I don't talk about that stuff. I just leave it alone. Because I was like, the result's going to come in. Because they said that thing readjusts the immune system. And they put in a switch in you. And if the switch stopped working, what happened? Because the switch was to turn off your immune system and turn it on, which is brilliant science. I'm not going to lie to you. It's fascinating that they can turn on the immune system and turn it off. But now, how do they know what it's gonna do next with the immune system? So notice there's all these drugs and this fentanyl and all this thing going. Now I remember when I was young, and I had to deal with this concept here, where when I was young, I think I went to one funeral of a person. All my childhood, I went to one funeral. It was a family member of a person that was under 25, I think it was. One. Never, even I think I never heard of somebody that died in my whole high school years. So all those years, I never heard of a student dying. There probably one died. A school of about 1,500, I'm sure one died. There's never heard about it. I never dealt with that in primary school. I remember I had a neighbor that the son almost got killed. A car almost ran him over. Almost run him over. It didn't run him over, but almost broke his leg. And almost killed him. And I remember that. I remember a few years ago, I realized there's a problem here. Why we have so much drugs? Because I remember reading an article, and I told you this article that shocked me because it says that there's a family in Pennsylvania, I think it was, or Ohio, and they went to 14 funerals in 12 months, and all on the age of 18. And I'm like, what is going? And I started thinking about it. I started asking other people. Okay, we grew up in a underdeveloped country, third world country, and I just never remember. I remember, as I say, I think I went to one funeral of somebody under 25. And in the era I grew up in, it wasn't one of these eras like in the capital, Kingston, where the young people, they're shooting themselves, or shooting each other. And so relatively peaceful. So what somebody say, oh, but you grew up in a third world, you don't have nuclear fusion or nuclear weapon. Oh, yeah, sure, not that advanced. You eat natural foods and stuff like that. But I never. So I remember when I came and I started hearing about kids dying of leukemia. I'm like, what are they talking about? That don't exist. And they say, yeah, it exists. Why so much kids dying of leukemia? Why is all this disability? Why is all and on and on? I'm asking the question, but I couldn't figure out what's going on because I say we live amongst the most advanced country in the world. We live amongst the most advanced people in the world. The most probably college age people in the world, the most intelligent people in the world, the richest people in the world, and on you can go. I'm saying, what is going on? What is this heap of curse? Why are there so much curses? But I didn't understand the regulatory environment that the people live under. I didn't understand what they did when it comes on to, like, I'm just saying, oh, so you have a problem, you just drink some herbs, right? No, you don't drink herbs. You have to take drugs. I'm like, what are you talking about? And the more I learn about it, the more, oh, these people are under delusion. They think that their medicine or their body need to be dealt with advanced chemicals. So the more I learn, the more I understand that, oh, this is this speaking like the drug is the regulatory environment, the laws of the country that is satanic. And this is what's killing the people. But they believe it that say, oh no, the leukemia and all these things and all these kids dying, I guess they think it's normal. Guns everywhere. The places are washed with guns. And it should not the law of to bear arms should not be infringed upon. It's a bomb stock. Like might as well just give them machine gun. Like, mow people down. People shooting up daycares. I've never shoot up a nursing home. I don't know. So the health outcomes is terrible. A child. Why should a child die from fentanyl? But this is the advanced law. But notice the doctor says it's the regulatory problem. We have a law problem. It's the Senate and Congress is the issue, and the president or the cabinet. So I'll take a few texts before we close. In John chapter 18, verse 36. So that's why I asked the question, are they immune from the implication of their laws? In John 18, verse 36, it says, Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now my kingdom is not from hence. So we think about the country that should be viewed as the most religious nation. Christ says, my followers don't fight for this kingdom. But I've dealt with people who's talking about America as if it's God's kingdom. And then they used to think about, I guess, South Africa like that, and they think about Israel like that. These Zionist daydreams. I'm like, it is a secular country where the government is trying to kill the people. What are you talking about? And people don't understand. When you have a government that it seems like its whole aim and purpose is to enrich corporations at the risk of killing everybody in Tennessee and Kentucky and stuff like that, then you understand what's going on. These places are washed with drugs. Young people dying like dogs. And yet, oh no, it's the most advanced people in the world. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 and 3. As I say, I've talked to quite a few people and I asked them, you went to a funeral? Because I only went to one, as I say. And when I say I went to one, the person was above 20. This person was probably 25 or could even a little bit older. I'm not certified their age. That was the only funeral I went all my childhood. And I just never go to funerals. I remember, why am I going to a funeral for a young person? You go to a funeral for old people. But I came here and I'm like, man, this is the most advanced place in the world. The one I went to, and I should clarify that, it was a person that was, a family member that was above 25, I think, or about 25, somewhere there. And that's the one I went to. I don't know what they're talking about. They come here, you're going to funeral with people, 18, 19. I'm like, what is going on? Black and white. Hispanic, you're like, what? Being shot, being killed, it's like, man, that's your childhood. There was a case, I think in Georgia, 3 weeks ago, where some young girl, she's graduating, and at the graduation, she fainted. And then I think over the weekend or the end of last week, she died 3 weeks after fainting. That's your experience as a teenager here, just burying young kids. John chapter 18, verse 36 says, Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. Oh no. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2 and 3 says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him, which is Jesus, that endures such contradiction of sinners. Sinners are very contradictory against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your mind. So imagine, Christ was healing the sick, and the religious leaders, those who control Israel, decide to kill him. This is human beings are crazy. And there's nothing different going on in this country. The leaders of the country, the corporate leaders, the banking leaders, the religious elite down there in DC, they are aggressive against natural health. And yet their kids are the ones that are pulling the trigger on themselves. And their kids are the ones that are dying of all kind of cancers. And they themselves just look, like they're about to kick the bucket. And yet, if you talk to them about natural health, they think you're stupid. It's like, it's crazy. These people are weird. That's why you have to be wise and just say, listen, they're going to do what they're going to do, them and their kids, and you're going to do what you're going to do. You don't follow the people. The amount of depression and suicide and incel and all this type of stuff, but you can talk to them because they know it all. First Peter chapter 5, verse 8, First Peter 5, verse 8 says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking who he can get to have leukemia, seeking whom he may devour. So this is one of the questions you have to ask yourself this question. The Native Alaskan, the Native Americans, and the black people are oppressed. But does white people suffer any ill from their legislation? You see, that's the question I'm asking. And what's your answer for that? Do you have an answer for that? Does do they have, does the Congress, because the Congress is primarily white, and the Senate, and the Supreme Court and the executive branch, do you think they eating all this stuff, and does it affect them? Because you can't talk to them, you can't tell them nothing, and yet the Bible tells me, the Bible doesn't say to me that the devils just want to eat Native Alaskan. I was going to say native Floridians, but native, what's the other people? Black, the black people, the Native American. The Bible tells me the devil want to eat everybody. But the question is, does Europeans get eaten? Do their kids get eaten? Because according to the article I just read, they are getting eaten, but not eaten the way that, say, the blacks. So as I say, I grew up in a third world nation amongst people who were they're children of slaves, and they're the losers. I get that. But does the people who doing the enslavement and did the enslavement, and the people who are the headquarters of the colony, since we live in the headquarters of the colony, which is the United States, the colonial masters, are they being affected by all this drugs and their regulatory environment? When they send off their people, their young people, the teenagers, to go fight wars in foreign country, does body bags and disability come back the other way? These are the questions that you have to ask. Because if you don't ask yourself the question, and I'm just asking yourself blunt questions, because over the years I've been, sometimes embarrassed myself when they come up with some withering attack, because how dare you talk about natural. And I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, wow. Romans chapter 1, verse 18, it says, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. So is this a true in America? Because I'm asking the question, but you know the answer for it. I don't believe so. I don't believe that because somebody's corporate elite, like, the family of the Senate and the Congress and themselves, are not affected by the regulatory environment. The representative from West Virginia and Kentucky, are they doing well? Because when they knew God, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has showed it unto them. For the invisible thing of him from the creation of the world is clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, that they are without excuse. God says they have no excuse with their foolishness. They see what they're doing and they're killing themselves. Because that when they knew God, they glorify him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like unto corruptible man, the bird and four-footed beasts and creeping things. So what has happened? They're supposed to know better, but they say, no. They're supposed to know that when you take a bribe, it corrupts, and it ends up bad. But they say, nah, we take the bribes. And they've created a regulatory environment in this place where the kids are going to a lot of funerals. The people are going to a lot of funerals. I hear people are saying there's excess deaths. There's a lot of funerals. But they say we're winning. And I said, okay, I guess you're winning. But winning don't work like that. So I'm telling you, you got to be wise. You got to see them and look at their results. And don't look at the regular people results. Don't look at the people on the ground level. You want to look at the people in DC, in the church. We'll deal with that on Friday by God's grace. And in the Senate and Congress, look at them. Look at the executive branch. Look at the presidents. Look at them and say, how's their health? They're winning. They create these laws and they're aggressive. They have the CIA and the FBI, the three-letter agencies attacking people for doing natural health. But how are they winning? And you have the corporation infiltrating institution and shutting down the natural clinics in America. But how are they winning? Did they just win because they won with Heartland recently and shut it down? All right, they didn't shut it down. They have somebody there from Colombia running it. But are they winning though? Because they think that's winning. So this is where my gripe is. But I only say these things sometime, but I just go ahead and talk about natural health and take care of my body. You have to figure out for yourself. But you can follow the corporate elite and the political elite and do what they do. But I tell you not to do it because I don't see their win. It's all death and destruction at their feet because that's what they did to their kids. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you, dear Lord, for your guidance in our lives that we might be wise as serpent or should be wise as serpent and harmless as dove. I pray, dear Lord, that we might see what's happening in this place and take care of our health. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow, where we should talk about current events. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.